Adam, from Durham says, "Hi chaps, straight to the point. One, I just finished rewatching the 4 matches that Kenny Omega and Okada had in New Japan. Which of the 4 was your favorite, and why? And also, do you agree with Dave Meltzer's star ratings for each?"
So my favorite was the first. It went over 45 minutes, but it felt like a 25-minute match. I just thought it was so fast-paced and hard work and dramatic and exciting. That may be my favorite match of all time. As far as whether I agreed with Dave's star ratings for those matches, no, I didn't. Not at all. So first, I just disagree with his assessment of the relative quality of the matches. He ranked the fourth the highest, followed by the second, and then the first and third tied at the bottom. And I just enjoyed the first the best by a pretty wide margin. And I didn't think the third in particular was even close to the quality of the first. And to me, the second and fourth, they had a slower pace, and they were drawn out in a way that made them feel less fun to me than the first. Even if, like the 3-hour foreign art house film, you can appreciate the craftsmanship. But, whatever. I mean, this match was better than that match. It's not really my thing. And they were all great matches. So that's cool. No big deal that Dave felt differently about the relative merits of them. But those were, of course, and I assume this is part of why you ask, the matches that Dave switched his rating system evolved for, and I thought that was a silly thing to do, and I've told him as much. And I didn't mind so much giving the first 6 stars just because it was such an awesome match, and it felt like just sort of like a flourish to say this was particularly great, like he did once for Steamboat and Flair and once for Misawa and Kawada, and those were just little footnotes that no one paid attention to because I think people understood it to be just his way of saying this is a particularly great 5-star match. And I can wrap my mind around the idea of a 5-star rating system for pretty much everything, and then you hand out a few ratings above that just to sort of have fun and say you really like these ones in particular and you're not taking yourself that seriously. But then the second one got 6.25 stars, and then the fourth got 7 stars, and all of a sudden you've got just a mess, in my opinion, because at that point you have a 5-star system for pretty much your entire professional life for over 35 years, and then after 35 years you start giving out ratings over 5 stars about as regularly as you used to give out 5-star ratings. So something's clearly changed. And there are 2 basic possibilities, right? Like, one possibility to explain why this has happened is that what you've done is changed your system. It used to be a 5-star system, and now it's a 6 or 7-star system. And if that's the case, how exactly do you even compare matches anymore? Like, what is a 5.5-star match in 2018 relative to a 4.5-star match in 1993? I feel like there's no longer any consistent system of comparison and measurement. And why move to a 7-star system anyway? Like, pretty much every star rating system for movies or music uses either 4 or 5. 7 is just a weird place to end up. So that leads to the second alternative of what's happening, and this is the argument that Davis has made for what's happening, and that's that this was essentially always an infinite star system, and it just so happened that as matches got better, he changed the system to reflect that. But that to me is also illogical, and on top of being illogical, it's also, I think, insulting to great wrestlers of the past if you carry out the logic of what's being said. Because, from a logic standpoint, the idea that wrestling existed from time immemorial to the beginning of 2017, and during that entire time, every match was either 5 stars or below, except for 2. And then after that point in 2017, 17 matches took place that were better than every other match in pro wrestling history except for 2, to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, imagine make a movie critic who listed the 19 best movies of all time, and 17 were from the last 3 years, according to his or her system. Like, I don't think that would be well received for obvious reasons. And I do think that wrestling quality has generally gotten better over time as standards have risen and athletes have gotten better. But that improvement didn't start in 2017, right? Like what Misawa and Kawada and Kobashi did in the 90s was revolutionary. The idea that they didn't raise the standards of the business except for one match, but the last 3 years, everybody has raised the standard, doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think the lack of logic really hits home when you start thinking about individual wrestlers. So, for example, to accept the idea that the system was never actually 5 stars, and it's always been this open system that just goes higher as matches got better, and the matches didn't apparently get better, we have to buy the idea that the 4 best matches of Hiroshi Tanahashi's career all came during the last 3 years after the age of 38, and that his best match with Kazuchika Okada was at Wrestling Dontaku 2018, well past the point that I think everyone would consider the peak of that feud. And then beyond the logical component of it, the Rising Stars system explanation, I think really insults the greats from the past, because it says that all of these star ratings above 5 stars are not because the system's changed, but because wrestling just got better in 2017. And so Adam Cole versus Johnny Gargano have twice had matches that were not just equal, but better in the ranking system than every match that Kenta Kobashi, Jumbo Tsuruta, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Eddie Guerrero, Jushin Liger, Satoru Sayama, Kurt Angle, The Funks, Jack Briscoe, throw out however you want, better than any match any of them ever had. And why would you go down that path? I mean, Dave has always spoken against going down that path and, talked about how the standards are for the time. And if you have a system that's consistent, then you can say, okay, this was the best of the best at this period of time, and we're not going to try to value what the best of the best is in 1983 versus what the best of the best is in 1995 versus the best of the best in 2007. Instead, we just have a consistent place where they all place. And instead, we've got the system where, the best of the best in 1983 is one place, the best of the best in 1992 is in one place, and the best of 2017 to 19 is in a different place. And I just, I think that if we care about this and we're thinking about this, that's I think an insulting sentiment towards the wrestling of the past and an unnecessary insult of the wrestling of the past. So no, I don't like what Dave did with the star ratings for the matches, and I don't really see any way of putting the genie back in the bottle. Yeah. I mean, I think he had a cohesive system that he devoted a lot of time to creating, and to me, there's no way to logically make sense of what's left. And that's my opinion on that.
All right. I agree with your star rating assessment.